Venezuela to turn over up to 50 million barrels of oil to the US. And also Bangladesh to allow postal ballots in upcoming election. And Salam Malaysia Madani, I'm Brenda Lepol. Prime Minister Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim has arrived in Turkey for a 3-day official visit to further strengthen the long-standing bilateral relations between the two countries. Datuk Seri Anwar, who is also the Finance Minister, is visiting the country at the invitation of Turkey President Recep Tayyip Erdogan. The special aircraft carrying Prime Minister, accompanied by his wife, Datuk Seri Dr. Wan Azizah Wan Ismail, and members of the delegation landed at the Esenbur International Airport at 7:20 p.m. local time. He was accompanied by Higher Education Minister, Datuk Seri Dr. Zamri Abdul Kadir, and Investment, Trade and Industry Minister, Datuk Seri Johari Abdul Ghani. The Prime Minister was greeted upon arrival by Foreign Minister, Datuk Seri Muhammad Hassan, Malaysian Ambassador to Turkey, Sazali Mustafa Kamal, and Turkish Defence Minister Yasar Guler. After arriving, Prime Minister attended the Sentuhan Kasih Madani ceremony with the Malaysian diaspora. At the Malaysian diaspora event, the Prime Minister said the strength of the Madani government was built on a spirit of togetherness and cooperation among parties without any sense of arrogance. He said that the government's strength also lies in the consensus among all component parties that consistently worked hand in hand and moved in tandem to implement the national development agenda for the well-being of the people.
Tidak semua dia kena ada kekuatan itu ya, bersama untuk melaksanakan program. Tapi andai kata kita dapat bertahan dan laksanakan program dengan lebih baik, tingkat kekesalan lebih bersungguh-sungguh, anak-anak yang terdedah dengan ilmu baru, teknologi baru, IT dan AI dan kejuruteraan dan semua bidang-bidang baru ini, teras dengan akidah dan akhlak yang baik. Sudah bayangkan 1-2 tahun lagi Malaysia itu akan berubah wajahnya. Certainly we can do it.
The Sentuhan Kasih Madani program with the Malaysian diaspora was attended by about 200 Malaysians, including professionals and students residing in Ankara. In other news, the continued closure of the Rafah border crossing has severely exacerbated the humanitarian situation in Gaza, confining residents and denying them vital access to medical care, education and essential supplies. According to Gaza-based health authorities, at least 1,200 patients require treatment outside Gaza monthly. Students are also facing disrupted futures. Most Al-Azhar University students from Egypt who are in Gaza are unable to continue their studies due to the prolonged closure of the Rafah border crossing. The main passage between Egypt and Gaza has largely remained closed since May 2024, after the Israeli armed forces seized control of the Palestinian side of the border. Prior to that, it was the primary exit route for Palestinians and the main entry point for humanitarian aid. Without a clear timeline for reopening, residents remain in a state of uncertainty, dependent on limited aid and local resources to meet essential needs. US President Donald Trump said that Venezuela's interim government will deliver up to 50 million barrels of oil to the United States and that the proceeds will be controlled by him. On his Truth social platform, Trump said the interim authorities in Venezuela will be turning over between 30 and 50 million barrels of high-quality sanctioned oil to the U.S. He further noted that the oil will be sold at its market price and the proceeds will be managed by him to ensure it is used to benefit the people of Venezuela and the United States. Trump insists Washington is now in charge of the Caribbean country, but has said he is prepared to work with Rodriguez, provided she submits to his demand for access to Venezuela's vast oil reserves. The U.S. leader was startlingly direct about his intent regarding the South American country's reserves. Venezuela's acting president, Delcy Rodriguez, on Tuesday declared 7 days of mourning for members of the military killed in the U.S. raid over the weekend to kidnap leader Nicolas Maduro. According to the South American government, around 24 Venezuelan officers were killed in the attack.
Y desde acá un mensaje a nuestros jóvenes mártires que dieron su vida en la defensa de nuestro país. Jóvenes mártires, he tomado la decisión de decretar un duelo de 7 días en honor y gloria a los jóvenes, mujeres, hombres que murieron, que ofrendaron su vida defendiendo a Venezuela, defendiendo al presidente Nicolás Maduro. Para ellos nuestro reconocimiento. Me ha perforado el alma las imágenes de los cuerpos inertes, pero yo sé que ellos se martirizaron por valores supremos de esta república.
Venezuela's defense minister, Vladimir Padrino Lopez, said that Maduro's presidential guard was largely wiped out in cold blood by U.S. troops who bombarded the capital and seized him from his home. Cuba's government said on Sunday that 32 of its military and police officers working in Venezuela were also killed and declared 2 days of mourning. Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney said on Tuesday that Canadian oil will remain competitive even if Venezuela boosts output following U.S. efforts to remove President Nicolas Maduro. Carney said that the Canadian oil will be competitive because it is low risk and low cost.
The Canadian oil will be competitive because it is low risk, clearly low risk. Low cost, the marginal cost, there's been huge progress in getting down the cost, and low carbon, which is what the Pathways project, carbon capture, will bring. And that makes Canadian oil competitive for the medium and long term. So we welcome the prospect of peace, a peaceful transition, democratic Venezuela.
U.S. President Donald Trump recently suggested that American companies are ready to invest billions in Venezuela's oil sector, prompting speculation about the impact on Canadian oil sands, a producer of similarly heavy crude. Carney welcomed the prospect of greater stability in Venezuela, but reiterated confidence in Canada's energy sector. Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk expressed support for Denmark in the emerging row with the U.S. concerning Greenland, after President Donald Trump hinted at a takeover of the territory. Tusk also commented on a possible mutual declaration between the EU, the U.S. and Ukraine ahead of Tuesday's Coalition of the Willing meeting.
Kilkanaście dni temu te rozmowy i starania dyplomacji europejskiej, amerykańskiej, ukraińskiej, one dają szansę, trochę więcej niż cień szansy, ale na pewno nie gwarancję, dają szansę na uzyskanie pokoju w Ukrainie. Nie muszę tłumaczyć, jak ważne to byłoby z naszego punktu widzenia, polskiego punktu widzenia, gdyby rzeczywiście te starania i te rozmowy do przerwania ognia i pokoju doprowadziły.
He also warned that NATO members should not attack or threaten each other. The Polish leader said he hoped to balance support for Denmark with maintaining strong transatlantic ties. Tusk confirmed the aim of the Paris meeting was to strengthen and unify European and American positions on Ukraine. Trump has repeatedly said he wanted to take over Greenland, telling The Atlantic magazine on Sunday that the U.S. needs the Danish territory for defense. European leaders were gathering at the coalition of the willing talks on Ukraine on Tuesday, with Ukraine's Volodymyr Zelensky among them, as the focus appeared to shift away from Kyiv towards Greenland and Venezuela. U.S. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff and Donald Trump's son-in-law, Jared Kushner, was set to join 27 European leaders, ostensibly on the Ukraine peace plan. However, U.S. strikes on Venezuela, the capture of Nicolas Maduro, and Trump's warnings about needing Greenland grabbed the headlines. A joint statement from the leaders of France, Germany, Italy, Poland, Spain, UK, and Denmark emerged, saying it is for Denmark and Greenland and them only to decide on matters concerning Denmark and Greenland. The statement stated the Kingdom of Denmark, including Greenland, is part of NATO. Therefore, security in the Arctic must therefore be achieved collectively in conjunction with NATO allies, including the United States, by upholding principles of the UN Charter, including sovereignty, territorial integrity, and the inviolability of borders. And yet to come, China to impose stricter control on dual-use items export to Japan. Stay tuned.
Dunia digital penuh dengan kandungan ganas, eksploitasi kanak-kanak dan buli cyber berleluasa di luar kawalan. Akta Keselamatan dalam Talian 2025 atau AMSA dikuat kuasa untuk melindungi rakyat. Pengguna boleh bertindak atas kandungan yang berisiko. Setiap laporan yang dibuat, platform digital wajib bertindak pantas terhadap penyalahgunaan digital. Internet ini lebih selamat untuk kanak-kanak dan keluarga kita.
Welcome back. For the first time in its independent history, Bangladesh will allow postal ballots in the upcoming election scheduled for 12 February. A total of 1,533,682 voters have registered to cast their ballots by post, and the referendum scheduled for 12 February. According to Election Commission data released on Tuesday, the registration process through the Postal Vote BD app concluded at midnight on Monday. Additionally, more than 127 million voters had been registered for the election for the first time since former Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina resigned and left the country in August 2024. Bangladesh's 13th general election has drawn a large field of some 2,568 candidates. Political parties account for the majority, with 51 parties sponsoring 2,090 candidates, while 478 are running as independents. A massive cleanup operation is underway in Indonesia's Aceh Tamiang province after catastrophic flooding over the last 2 months caused widespread destruction, leaving homes, schools, and businesses reeling from the worst disaster the region has ever experienced. Some heavy machinery working to clear thick mud and debris from roads and public spaces, while local businesses continue cleanup efforts. Pupils can also be seen returning to schools where aid groups provided supplies to families. During the recovery phase, schools have resumed operations with the support of the Indonesian National Board of Zakat, Basnas, an official government-established body responsible for the national collection and distribution of Islamic charities, alms, and donations.
Insya Allah untuk bantuan sekolah di 3 provinsi, kita akan bantu seragam minimal 20.000 dulu, sesuai dengan kebutuhan sekarang ini yang diajukan. Nanti kalau ada tambahan akan kita tambah.
As a result of the flooding disaster, Aceh Tamiang recorded the second highest number of internally displaced persons in the province, with around 115,000 people forced to evacuate as of late December last year. China has decided to strengthen export control on dual-use items to Japan. The Ministry of Commerce announced that the country prohibits the export of all dual-use items for Japan's military use and for any other end users and end-use purposes that help finance Japan's military capabilities. This decision was in accordance with the relevant provisions of laws and regulations, including the Export Control Law of China and China's regulation on the export control of dual-use items. Japanese leader recently made erroneous remarks regarding China's Taiwan region, hinting at the possibility of military intervention in the Taiwan Strait. According to the ministry, such comments interfered in China's internal affairs, seriously violated the One China principle, and are extremely egregious in nature and impact. The decision was made to safeguard national security and interests and fulfill international obligations such as non-proliferation. Dual-use items are goods, technologies or services that could be used for either civil purposes or military purposes or to contribute to an increase in military potential, especially in the design, development, production or use of weapons of mass destruction and their means of delivery. Freezing weather gripped swathes of Europe on Tuesday with snow and icy conditions forcing the cancellation of hundreds of flights in the Netherlands. At Amsterdam's Schiphol Airport, over 400 flights were cancelled as the winter weather crippled traffic at one of Europe's main transit hubs, 4 of 50. All domestic rail services in the Netherlands were also suspended early on Tuesday after an IT outage compounded disruptions across the country's rail network. Trains began running in parts of the country after 9 a.m., but problems persisted in the region around Amsterdam, a popular tourist destination. High-speed Eurostar services to Paris from Amsterdam were either cancelled or running late. Other parts of Europe, including Britain, France and Germany, were bracing for another snow-carrying storm to hit on Thursday and Friday. Rainfall over the past 2 days has caused flooding across several western and central municipalities in Kosovo, disrupting electricity and water supplies and forcing evacuations. In the central town, approximately 20 families were evacuated and power was cut after water reached a local power station. The mayor apologized to local residents because they had to cut power themselves for safety reasons. Rivers overflowed in other towns and power was cut in some regions. In some places, water companies were forced to suspend drinking water supplies after floods reached local water basins and pipes. Emergency authorities warned that the situation is expected to deteriorate over the coming days, with a forecast of more heavy rain and snow. The Kosovo Institute for Public Health appealed to citizens to be cautious in terms of safety and health. Siemens President and Chief Executive Officer Dr. Roland Busch declared that the industrial AI revolution is already underway, with AI poised to transform global industry faster than electricity, computing or steam ever did. Busch said at his keynote address at the Consumer Electronics Show at CES in Las Vegas on Tuesday.
Well, the industrial AI revolution, it has already begun, and it's picking up steam faster than steam ever did. In fact, steam took 60 years to transform society. Electricity, 30, computers, 15. For AI, we're looking at 7 years or less before intelligence is embedded in the system we rely on every day. Or less before
NVIDIA Chief Executive Officer Jensen Huang joined Busch on stage, and the two executives spotlighted an expanded strategic partnership to bring artificial intelligence into the real world.
Digital twin that we hope for. It's incredible. We're gonna work together to accelerate all of your EDA software, which we can then use to design our chips faster so that we could accelerate your EDA software faster. we're gonna accelerate all of your sim center software so that we could use it to design and simulate our AI factories faster, so that we could create AIs that makes sim center faster to achieve this milestone.
According to a press release, the two companies plan to build on the industrial AI operating system, reinventing the entire end-to-end industrial value chain through AI, from design and engineering to manufacturing, productions, operations, and into supply chains.
Any product, any plant, any product.
Moving on to sports, Chelsea appoints Liam Rosenior as new head coach. Stay with us.
Satu gelanggang, satu juara, ribuan harapan. Rasai Bahang Axiata Arena. Siapakah yang bakal tewas dan siapa yang bakal menjulang piala? Kejohanan Badminton Petronas Terbuka Malaysia 2026. Dari 6 hingga 11 Januari ini. Di saluran OK, juga di RTM Click.
Starting off with badminton, Malaysia have secured at least one spot in the quarterfinals of the Malaysia Open 2026 after 2025 mixed doubles world champions. Chen Tang-jae, To Yi-wei are set to face compatriots Hu Pang-ron, Cheng Su-yin in the second round this Thursday. The fourth seed, Tang-jae Yi-wei, once again proved to be a voodoo pairing for Indonesia's Jafar Hidayatullah, Felicia Alberta Nathaniel Pasaribu, dismissing the world number 10 pair in straight sets in the first round. The world number 4 pair needed just 39 minutes to post a 21-12, 21-17 victory and extended their unbeaten record against the Indonesians to 7 consecutive wins. Tang-jae was pleased that their strategy and on-court communication with his partner paid off, allowing them to advance to the next round while delighting the home crowd. Meanwhile, Pang-ron Su-yin advanced to the second round when they came from behind to dispatch Denmark's Mathias Christiansen, Alexandra Boy 20-22, 21-18, 21-17 in 72 minutes. Pang-ron said they were delighted to record their maiden win in the Malaysia Open after they were sent packing early by Taiwan's Ming-che Lu Hu Eng-tzu 26-28, 21-14, 22-24. Last year, based on head-to-head records, Tang-jae Yi-wei appeared to have the upper hand over Pang-ron Su-yin, having won all 3 previous meetings.
Satu pukulan yang tidak begitu kencang, pemain muda India yang berusia 20 tahun.
In the meantime, several big names failed to qualify for the next round of Malaysia Open. Professional men's singles shuttler Setia made his long-awaited return to competition after a 111-day hiatus, only to face bitter disappointment as he crashed out. His 12-21, 17-21 defeat in a mere 39 minutes at the hands of young Indian player Ayush Shetty clearly showed that the former All-England champion was still far from his best physically, a fact he readily admitted.
Mungkin nampak tadi belum 100% lagi memang. Saya pun tak satisfied sangat lah dengan performance tadi. So saya pun tahu opponent saya bukan senang untuk main. Sebab last year saya tahu memang result dia bagus lah, kira upcoming rising star.
Setia is attempting to make a comeback after withdrawing in the first round of the 2025 China Masters on September last year to focus on rehabilitation due to health and fitness concerns triggered by a back injury last year. Also failed to qualify for the next round were national mixed doubles Jimmy Wong, Lai Pei-ting, and also women pair Ong Sin Yi, commenting.
Tamat perlawanan dengan 21-17 dalam game yang kedua memihak kepada Ayu Siti.
In English football, Liam Rosenior was confirmed as Chelsea's new head coach on Tuesday following the sacking of Enzo Maresca. The 41-year-old has signed a deal until 2032 to manage the London club, becoming the 4th full-time head coach appointed since American Todd Bowley's 2022 takeover. Rasmi took charge of Strasbourg in July 2024 after coaching spells at Derby County and Hull City. In his first season, he led them to European qualification for the first time in 19 years. Meanwhile, Chelsea under-21 coach and interim manager Caleb McFarlane said he will hand over the reins after the Blues' trip to Fulham.
I spoke to Liam briefly last night. He's obviously really excited about taking the role. Just a brief conversation. So my understanding is he's going to be at Cobham later on today at some point. So I'm sure I'll catch up with him more on that. And the second part of your question, yeah, I've been told I'm leading the game tomorrow. So to try and do as best a job as we can, as we have done, and yeah, give him the 3 points to move on and build from.
Chelsea's under-21 coach stepped in after Enzo Maresca parted ways with the club on New Year's Day and masterminded a 1-1 draw at Manchester City on Sunday. McFarlane has been given responsibility for the Premier League game at Fulham, when Rasmi will watch from the stands before assuming his duties on Thursday. Erik ten Hag has been appointed as technical director of FC Twente in the Eredivisie. Ten Hag will officially join FC Twente at the start of February on a contract running until 2028 and will assume the responsibilities of the outgoing technical director, Jan Streuer, who is set to retire next season. Ten Hag arrives following a brief and challenging stint at Bayer Leverkusen, where he was dismissed after just 3 games in September 2025. The Dutchman managed Manchester United for 2 years, lifting the FA Cup and League Cup before being sacked in October 2024. Ten Hag led Ajax to 3 Eredivisie titles in 2019, 2021 and 2022, while also winning the League Cup twice. In motorsports, in Dakar Rally, Ford Raptors filled the top 5 places in as American Mitch Guthrie Jr. won the third 421-kilometer stage in Saudi Arabia, his first victory in the top car category, and took the overall lead on Tuesday. Guthrie ended the long loop starting and finishing in Al-Ula with a 26-second overall lead over Czech driver Martin Prokop, with Sweden's Matthias Ekström third. Spaniard Carlos Sainz, a 4 times Dakar winner, still competing at 63, was in 4th place overall, and compatriot Nani Roma 5th. Brazilian Lucas Moraes was 6th with Dacia, Sandrider teammates Cristina Gutierrez, Nasser Al-Attiyah and Sebastian Loeb 7th, 10th and 12th, respectively. 5 times winner Al-Attiyah has led the standings after Monday's stage, but drops to 11 minutes and 39 seconds off the pace. Al-Attiyah, who suffered 2 punctures, was the only driver on Monday's leading 6 to remain in the top 10. Toyota had filled the top 5 places in Monday's stage. 9 times World Rally champion Loeb also lost time with 2 punctures to the first 100 kilometer and no further spare tyre after that. That's it from us this afternoon. Our top story, Venezuela to turn over up to 50 million barrels of oil to the US. To join us again tonight, 8:30 p.m. on Saluran Berita RTM and TV1. Can also stream us live on RTM Clicks website or mobile application. Till then, I'm Brendan Lepal. Thank you for your company. Take care.